The resource that I want to share with you today are the interactives on Concord Consortium. So if you're not familiar with these, they have interactive models for all that align with all four of our core subject areas in science. And I love them because they are aligned to our new standards. And they're really great at engaging students in the practices. So the SEED standards have science practices like data analysis, planning and carrying out investigations, developing and using models, constructing explanations are a few of them. These are written directly into the standards, and you can leverage these interactives to get your students engaged in those practices. There are some of the interactives that actually come with question prompts, and those question prompts are also aligned to those practices to help your students really engage in doing science. They can also be used for assessment. So they're really great for formative assessment, and they can also be used to help students be the sense makers. So one shift with our new standards is that we may give our students some information, but we really want them to be using that information to make sense of something and figure something out. And so depending on where you put these in your unit, you could be putting them in a place where they're more of a formative assessment. Maybe you're even using pieces of them for a summative assessment. Maybe they're more in the middle of your unit and your students are using them for some sense making. So there are a lot of different ways that you can use them. And the last thing that I really love about these is that many of them come with a code that lets you embed them into Canvas. And that just makes things simple for you and your students. So from the teacher end, you have all of their answers right there. So you can give them feedback using SpeedGrader. And for your students, they don't have to jump around and be going to different websites to try to figure out what they're supposed to be doing, where they're supposed to be answering, and what they're supposed to be turning in. So you can see this one that I've been playing around with a little bit while I've been talking is one that you could use to have your students do some data analysis. It's also one that you could use to have your students actually plan and conduct an investigation, because this particular topic of air pollution might be a hard one for them to do an investigation with material. So this is a way that they could actually plan and conduct an investigation. So in the rest of this video, I'm going to use a couple of models that align to our high school chemistry standards, and I'll show you, or I'll try to give you some ideas of how you could use them in a unit so that they align well with our new standards. And then at the end, I'll also show you how to embed them into Canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this one. And so all of these models are found on this website. It's learn.concord.org, or you can just Google the Concord Consortium and get to this page. It's pretty easy to find. They have a lot of other projects out there also. So we're just going to be looking at this one today. So you can search by topic and by grade. So the model that I wanted to look at is one that aligns well with Chemistry Standard 2.2. So it's this one on boiling point. So in your class, you might have students on the very beginning of this unit measuring the boiling points of some different liquids and then coming up with an initial explanation of why they think different liquids or different substances have different boiling points, what could be causing that. And then after they come up with their initial explanations, this might be the first introductory activity where they start getting a little bit of information so they could use this interactive to start looking for patterns and start thinking about what's going on at the molecular scale before you start getting into more details about intermolecular forces. This would also be a great option for your distance learners if they couldn't do the investigation with materials at their house. You could just give this to them to replace that. So once you decide that you want to use this, if you want to embed it into Canvas, you're going to look for this little share button. So not every model has this, but a lot of them do. So if you click on that, you'll see that there's an HTML embed code that pops up. So I just did this to make it a little bit smaller. You can always change these numbers to make it smaller. So this is really similar to if you've ever used the embed code to embed like a YouTube video or anything else. So we're just going to copy this code. And then I'm going to come over here to my assignment. So I've got an assignment all set up. I want my model to go right here. So because I copied the HTML code, I need to go into the HTML editor. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to find where I wanted it. And it was right after this. So I'm going to just paste my code there. And then when I flip back over, the model will show up there. So I can assign this to my students, and then they don't have to go out to any other websites. They can actually just run this model right here in Canvas. They can record their data, whatever I've asked them to do. In this case, they're going to open up a text box and answer these questions. There is one issue that comes up sometimes with these. So this is another interactive. It is called protein folding, and it is one that goes with Chemistry 2.2 or 2.3. So this is one where students could start looking for some patterns and applying what they know about intermolecular forces to start figuring out how proteins get their structure and then how that structure is related to their function. So if you decide you want to use this and you follow that exact same process, so I'm going to copy the embed code. And then I'm just going to put it into the same assignment. I'm just going to put it right down here at the end. So remember, we click on the HTML editor, and then you just paste it in at the end there. And when you flip back over, so here's my first model, and then you'll see there's just a big blank space where that second model is supposed to be pasted in. So if you notice that that happens, don't get too frustrated. It's a really easy fix. So you're going to go back over to the HTML editor and find your embed code. So this is the thing that we just copied and pasted from Concord. Near the beginning of that code, you'll see this HTTP. You just need to add an S to it. So it says HTTPS, and you'll notice the first one we did already had the S there. And now when I go back over to my content editor, it should be there. So there it is. So I hope that this was useful in both introducing some of the resources on Concord Consortium and maybe starting to think about how you could use them in your class. And then also just knowing that you can embed them directly into Canvas, so that that might make things a little bit easier for your distance learners, so that they're not jumping around and trying to figure out where they're supposed to go. So I hope you get a chance to go explore in Concord and find something that you could use today, or maybe this quarter, or maybe even next week. As always, if you have any questions or if there's anything I can do to help you, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email or give me a call.